Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah, come on, give yourselves a big hand. It's great to see you all. I don't have much light to read. Do you guys have enough light? I'm going to turn this way so I can read. So, thank you all for coming out to Otto's to see two guys in a bar talking. I think technically it should be called three guys in a bar talking because I have a mic and I'm talking. But that's another point. With that being said, let's have a show of hands. How many of you, when you heard Phillip Giambri is involved in something, you immediately put it on your calendar? Yeah. A couple of months ago, Phillip asked me if I'd be a part of this tonight's show, and I said yes, of course, without asking what he wanted me to do. No hesitation. Luckily, my role didn't include mopping floors. Well, at least I don't think it does. Actually, I did mop the floor, didn't I? All right, well, I wrote this before I had to mop the floor. All right. I've known Phillip coming up on 2 years. I think he's an excellent poet, storyteller, and one freaking cool guy. Yep. This will be my first time seeing Vincent Quatroche in person, though I have watched videos of his fantastic poetry on YouTube. You should all do that when you leave home, go home tonight. I can see this collaboration is going to make one hell of a show. Almost all of the stories and poems you'll be hearing tonight are fictionalized versions of true stories and actual events Phillip and Vincent have personally experienced in their lives. They are truly barfly storytellers, not fiction writers. Phillip has also asked me to remind you that free venues for readings are rapidly disappearing, and a lot have to do with attendees not supporting the venue by fulfilling the 2-drink minimum, whether alcohol, beer, wine, or non-alcoholic drinks. So it would be great and a nice gesture for you to tip the bartender a little bit more than the usual $1 per drink. Bar rent and staff expenses have increased since the pandemic, and we need to keep these folks happy. Also, there's going to be an intermission later on. It'll be 10 minutes for a quick bathroom break and a drink break. So, without further delay, put your hands together and give a big show of support for two guys in the bar talking style, Phillip Giambri and Vincent Quatroche.
Well, hello there, Beat Poetry Race fans. Welcome to the 5th race at Barkowski Downs. It was raining cats and dogs and angel-headed hipsters this dawn, but now the track has dried out, and there's the post, and they're at the belt, and they're off. Cryptic Stranger is strung off the line, with Sentimental Tripe on his heels, followed by Pretentious Prose. Rounding out the first curve, here comes Cosmic Babble, Homeless Despair, and Bargain Basement Pathos are in hot pursuit in the second tier. In the middle of the pack, Graybeard Confusion, Suicide Blonde, Ethnic Disaster, and Gender Axe to Grind. Bringing up the rear, Ionic Pentameter Masturbator, and Drunken Rage, and Colon Cacophony. Around the first turn, the pack is starting to spread. Cryptic Stranger is holding on by 2 lengths. Pretentious Prose and Sentimental Tripe are neck to neck. Graybeard Confusion wants the outside lane, while Suicide Blonde is deciding if she wants to fuck him after the race. Humorless Despair is dropping back. Cosmic Babble seems confused. Bargain Basement Pathos has started to weep. Gender Axe to Grind and Ethnic Disaster are trading places in vendettas. They're at the halfway point now. The pack is starting to spread even further. Cryptic Stranger still holding on to his own. Pretentious Prose and Sentimental Tripe are losing focus and fading out of the top 3, while Cosmic Babble seems poised to make a move. Ionic Pentameter Masturbator beats it. Drunken Ran has gone to the whip. Colon Cacophony refuses to quit. We're on the last term now. This is going to be Cryptic Stranger has opened up the lead to 4 labels. Cosmic Babble has a lane on the outside. Humorless Despair now slips in the 3rd spot. And here comes Colon Cacophony out of nowhere. Down to the wire now. And it's Cryptic Stranger running out of gas. Cosmic Babble on his heels. Coming on strong is Humorless Despair. This is going to be a wire finish, ladies and gentlemen. Going to be a photo finish. And it's Colon Cacophony. By an anus! Please wait, hold all tickets to the official results have been posted on the track, tote board by a literary agent. Time to meet the ancient mariner. I sat down before a poetry reading at 15th Street at the Revival Bar one summer. On the stool open between us, at first glance out of the corner of my eye, he struck me as a classic tough-ass New Yorker chewing gum that would gladly deck and knock the block off the nearest wise guy punk who was asking for it by running his yap by barking up the wrong tree. Or perhaps he just didn't like the look in general he didn't like. Now this guy's in shape too, dignified duds, dignified white hair, impeccably grown mustache, smoothly nursing a drink with a folder in front of him on a bar. I'm thinking union boss, mob godfella, teamster rep, chilling afterward. So I'm planted in between this goddamn air conditioning unit like this, blowing ice cubes down my neck, and I want to move over on the bar stool open between us because all the other spots are taken. So I decide to make the move and keep my pie hole buttoned up as to why if he decides I'm some friggin' weirdo and trying to make a move on him. Bartender goes, "Guess that seat got to you, huh? A little too cool over there, boss?" And with an action, my man says, "Yeah, I was there first when I came in. Had to move over here." And he's chewing that gum, sizing me up with this beatific spark in his eye. I slug my beer down and head up the stairs to the reading. In a few minutes, the ancient mariner shows up. Shrugging at me in recognition of sort, he suggests that he's knowing that you're another poet, huh, there, boss? He was thinking downstairs the same about you at the bar. Contractor, day worker, hard ass or something or other. And then we discovered we were brothers from another mother.
Dive bar years. I spent the best years of my life in dive bars. Still a few good ones left in the East Village, but they'll all be gone before long. When I moved to New York in 1968, I was amazed to find there was an actual franchise chain of dive bars. They were called Blarney Stone. They were as common as Starbucks are now. They catered to blue-collar workers, alcoholic housewives, sailors, construction workers, bike messengers, hookers, pimps, old drunks, alcoholic white-collar executives, and out-of-work wannabe actors like me. I think there's actually one remaining one, Blarney Stone, on 8th Avenue across from Penn Station. Spent a lot of hours in that one back in 61 and 62, passing through the city when I was in the service. They had steam tables with mashed potatoes, string beans, and the best corned beef and roast pork sandwiches in the city. You could always get away with the excuse that you were stopping by Blarney Stone to get a corned beef sandwich, then you get smashed in the middle of the day. Because what really brought the hardcore afternoon drunks to Blarney Stone was cheap booze. 1.5 ounce shots of bottom shelf shit, what we now politely call well drinks. 25 cents a shot with a Coke chaser. 35 cents a shot with a short beer chaser. Every hour was happy hour at Blarney Stone. I like to think I'm a little more sophisticated now. I enjoy the taste of single malt scotch, California wines, French brandy, even aged bourbon. Mostly what somebody else is buying, of course. I gotta tell you, I still have nostalgia for old Philadelphia, Corby's, Shenley's, and Three Feathers. Cheap shit that bites at the back of your throat, lets your stomach know something hard's coming down. Whenever I look back on good times, when I think of good friends, all my best memories seem imprinted with the smell, the taste, and the bite of bottom shelf whiskey and dive bars. Makes me feel warm inside. Wish I were young again and still had a stomach that could handle cheap booze.
Here come the old guys. Here come the old guys in day-glow tie-dye t-shirts stretched over bowling ball waistlines, ponytails and braids that dangle from bald spots sporting zigzag band beards, zircon knockoff diamond stud earrings, with their gleaming vintage Harley parked outside of the bar, knocking down that 5th Jack and Coke, lecturing the bartender again about how the faggots, fruits, gooks, spooks, and spicks are ruining the country. Here come the old guys, driving mint-condition 61 Comets, 64 Chevy Impalas, 67 Cherry Red Thunderbird convertibles, with the top down, of course. Wearing neighbor officer hats, chain-smoking viceroys, singing along with the Beatles and the Beach Boys, blaring from under the dashboard mounted cassette tape players. Coolers of cracked ice, Pabst Blue Ribbon in the trunk, passing you on the highway doing 75, like a bat out of hell, going somewhere in one big goddamn hurry. Here come the old guys, pushing a shopping cart in the supermarket, looking like a 50-year-old Boy Scout in Glen plaid shorts, pink Docker golf shirts, hairy, fat, stubby legs with white athletic socks stretched up to his knobby knees in Nikes, while his scowling wife either strutting 5 feet in front of him or dragging her pouting ass dejectedly to the rear to the checkout line to witness him berate some scared teenager checkout clerk for not bagging the groceries properly. Here come the old guys, looking trim, fit, 10 years younger than they really are, dignified, gray at the temples, got all his hair, great looking teeth, divorced twice, has a new girlfriend his daughter's age, plays golf, tennis, racquetball. Plenty of time for all this now. Retired 5 years ago with one hell of a pension, loaded with smoking investments, stock options, condo in Key West, cabin for skiing in Vermont. Looking good, feeling good, world by the ass. Only one problem, nobody cares. Or wants to know him anymore since he was such a ruthless, miserable son of a bitch at work, at home, getting to where he is today. Which is next to you. A total stranger in a coffee shop, striking up an uninvited conversation to tell you all about this. Yep, that's right. Here come the old pals, telling too many long, endless, pointless stories about their world that's vanished. All their dead pals, their triple bypass operations, and that's the easy one to listen to. How tough they were when they were your age. How tough life was when they were your age. How many women they screwed, just how much money, drugs, booze they consumed and blew through, and the ass-kicking they took and dished out. Here come the old guys, scared to death. Desperately holding on to that last fucking shred of youth, if you could call it that. Before, as a reward for not dropping dead in the parking lot already, they survived to become everybody. Really, really old guys.
Dancing on razor blades. Late night East Village. Rain glistens off shattered street glass like fallen stars. Two lone figures roaming the streets. Long-legged beauty in full-length leather, taking long strides in black cowboy boots, blonde hair blowing wild, open coat, denim miniskirt, and Ramon's t-shirt pushing out hard nipples, dragging along that old hipster sporting a black pork pie and Chuck Taylor high tops, looking for all the world like some sexy 60s trucking cartoon couple. Coyotes on the stalk in Alphabet City, hungry for the taste of pre-gentrification, looking to bite off and chew up the last remains of music, poetry, love, and art, lingering in dive bars still open to poets, rockers, artists, and crazies like us. A broken wing angel and a poet out of rhyme, juking the East Village dive bars, drink a little, dance a little, making out at the bar, not giving a shit who's looking, feeling the music, feeling the love. Hit the streets again, on the prowl, hungry for the next joint. They keep rolling on bar after bar till there ain't no more left. Drinking too much, talking shit, laughing too loud, groping under streetlights, refusing to submit to daylight, ever. They're dancing on razor blades, but taste freedom in the blood. Their time's passing fast, they know it. Soon there'll be nowhere left to go for poets, rockers, artists, and crazies. Fuck burning candles at both ends, douse them in gasoline, turn up the music, drink, smoke, laugh, make love. Let the flames be our final sunset. Baby, we got nothing left to lose now.
Woo!
So I'm walking into a bar on East 7th. It's 1956. Right after the Dodgers beat the Yankees in the World Series that winter February afternoon. It's a spring training's right around the corner. And already there's talk about them moving to LA. Nobody reading the papers is buying a loudmouth regular at the bar, put it this way. No way a Giants skip town. It's just Stardom putting the pressure on a city to build him in a stadium so he can ditch that polling grounds dump. I order a tall boy high life and a bottle and a shot of Dewar's neat. Slap $1.50 on the countertop, get me a couple of nickels for the jukebox, watch that new TV set that's showing up in most places lately. Blurry black and white with the sound muted usually, while the same know-it-all the regular pronounces, TV stinks. Look at that tiny screen. It's just a fad. It'll never catch on. Me, I'd rather go to the movies. As my number comes up on the jukebox playing Bill Haley in the comments, see you later, alligator. Well, I enough account was straight, wondering who was that dish in the phone booth laughing out loud at the end of the bar while smiling over here. Boy, I wait for her to get off the horn. There's a bar stool next to me with a purse, a pink squirrel, with a battered pack of menthol, thinking, I'm not going anywhere. And after hanging up the receiver, she chasses towards me in a red and white polka dot hoop skirt and high heels, clicking 2-inch stiletto heels on the linoleum. Sitting down on the adjacent bar stool, she snaps her gun with a loud crackle and sizes me up and says, "So what are you looking at, creep?"
Mildred. I work with Mildred. She's a good-looking blonde English woman in her mid-40s. Her ex owns a girdle factory in Liverpool. I think they're pretty well off. She seems to be on the prowl, and I pick up the scent. I invite her for a drink at my local dive joint, Ed Max. The night bartender's my buddy, Harry. He used to be what they called punch drunk. His nose is flat from too many breaks, his eyebrows are heavily scarred from healed cuts, and his ears are what we used to call cauliflower. His boxing career did not treat his body well. Harry's a sweet, humble guy who always calls everyone kid, and I love him. Mildred and I enter Ed Max on a Friday night. The joint's packed. Take the last 2 seats at the bar. Harry greets us with, "What'll it be, kids?" I look over at Mildred and ask her what she'd like. She says, "A gimlet." I look at her. Harry looks at me. Mildred looks at me with consternation. Harry says, "Lady, we got shots, we got beers, and we got shandy wine." That's how he pronounces Chianti. "What's it going to be, lady?" She turns to me with an arched eyebrow, gives me that look, and I know Mildred and I are not going to have it.
Knockout on 77. Melt you. With those cheap ice cubes made with the airfield centers. Her behind the bar calling all the old guys, sweetheart. You walk in the place for a few Christmas beers, and you're hooked, line and sinker. Close your mouth, kid. She regards you coolly with the slightest of something, tugging at the corner of her lips and coos, "Okay, baby, what's it going to be tonight?" God, if only you knew. Beer. Yeah, sure, beer. That familiar rat piss you chugged for better than 40 years. You somehow managed to get that out. And away she goes like central casting, sent her over just to get to you. The edgeless bridge of freckles across the cheeks and nose, the Hershey kiss dropped breasts, moving in other directions in the perpetual motion, anti-gravitational hips turning figure eights, dual ponytails parted down the middle, hung in swinging high C's. She's the walking haunted dream in gold hoop earrings. Belly shirt, pierced, probably, in all the places you can barely fathom. So you just put it back in your pants there. Settle down, Dad. I mean, after all, you're slobbering all over the bar. Just get with the prolonged, resigned sigh. Sit, relax, have a cold one, enjoy the view. And that's just what you managed to do. Watch her work the bar, work the regulars. Hell, after a while, I even think she worked you, and you were a walk-on. Lit your cigarette with your own lighter. Bent over to dig in the cabinet where her purse was, directly in front of you. More than once. Made with the small stuff. So what are you going to do? You have to sit there and keep your hot horse shit to a minimum, verbally at least. But you had to know what I was thinking. All the usual salacious stock footage. The biggest problem was that she was this walking montage of women I had known very well over the years, either once or repeatedly. Her composite hanging onto you by the ears and just riding. The mosaic of her brimming eyes in the bedroom candle shadows shining after the bar had closed at 5 a.m., waiting you to come to bed as you smoked one last cigarette. Nah, not these girls. These ghosts, these phantoms. They're only apparitions of this live and flesh walking reminder of how long it's gone since these things have gone, and how certain Nothing would ever match or come with this barroom fantasy. In the end, you made a point of saying goodnight, shaking her hand, getting shook just more than once with that grinning devil in her eye, just take it in all one last time. Her eyes, maybe a bit curious, probably not. You tip more than you should have, and you keep that smile that lasts on the cold, dark sidewalk all the way down the subway station stairs.
Brenda and Bubba. Brenda worked noon to 8 at Dave's on 1st Avenue and 7th Street. There's a hardware store there now. Wednesdays and Thursdays, drinks are cheap and she pours heavy. I'm there around 1 for my weekly afternoon buzz fest. Bright sun is filtering through the large, dirty front window, illuminating a classic East Village joint, a late 60s jukebox and a pool table with warped sticks and chewed up felt. There are rules there when Brenda's working. The TV only shows Yankee games with the volume off, because her husband Bubba likes to watch the game and listen to the Sultans of Swing. So better not play anything else on the juke either while Bubba's there, or he'll pull the plug on you. Brenda's a worn-out version of Dolly Parton without the high hair and a thick muffin top where her waist used to be. Bubba's a younger version of Richie Havens. He loves Brenda, Yankees, Dire Straits, and after 2 tours in Afghanistan, heroin. Everybody loves Bubba because he's so sweet on Brenda and he's so freaking mellow. He knows every musician who plays the Village. He's that fucking cool. Just don't mess with this Yankee game, the Sultans of Swing or his woman. He's gonna go all Green Beret on your ass. I check out at Dave's around 4 with a good buzz. Life changes quick around here. Jump ahead 2 months, Brenda calls to tell me Bubba's gone, dead from an overdose. I'm devastated, such a sweet guy. I head over to the bar and we take up a collection. Barely enough is raised for cremation. What to do with his rashes? Well, we're resourceful if nothing else down here in the East Village. We put Bubba's ash in the Maxwell House coffee can at the end of the bar, under the TV set with his Yankees hat over the lid. Bubba's home. Not too long after, Brenda said the landlord sold the building. Bar's closed in a couple of months. Probably going to be remodeled into a craft cocktail lounge with high prices, so Brenda's out of work and Bubba lost his final resting place. Brenda and I get drunk, and we cry a lot while she's hugging Bubba in that coffee can. Without Bubba's disability check and no job, she can't afford her apartment anymore. She moves to a roach-infested 6th floor walk-up in Chinatown. I'm thinking things ain't looking so good right now. Hey, we're coyotes. This ain't the first of the worst we've seen. We're street smart, and we ain't dead yet.
That's right.
Who's your daddio? Now my old man and I used to take trains in the city when I was a kid till I grew up to be a pain in the ass teenager. From the World's Fair excursions to the Santa Claus special around the holidays, some like we just head in and walk around. Old man didn't like subways, so we walked everywhere, from the Battery to the museums uptown. Now there's one trip, somewhere in between having it still be a big deal to the start of the novelty wearing off, right on the cusp of losing my childhood. We had a plan, destination, yes, a routine. We'd have to go to St. Francis, right around the corner for the confession. He didn't trust local priests. And then to our favorite diner for hamburgers and fries. So this one time, we're down the East Village checking out record stores, and he liked jazz, I liked Frank Zappa. We always had an hour to kill till our train left. We passed a park and a playground, and he asked me out of the blue, "Hey, you want to try the swings?" Now, I was a little old for this, but I agreed, sure, why not? Let's swing. I think we were around either Thompson Square or the Flatron Building. I don't remember. So I climb across one, and next to me, he sits down to smoke a Camel. The place is kind of deserted on a gray, muggy May afternoon. When these 2 guys come to sit on next to the set close to us, they're both in their 20s. Now, they look like a real oddball couple. All-American halfback from Oklahoma meets dark, Brooklyn, Jewish, frizzy-haired lasses. One calls the other one Alan, and the other one says, "Hey, Jack." The old one, or the one guy, starts pushing the other one on the swing. They're talking, laughing, and then one of them lit up a real funny kind of cigarette that smelled funny, sort of like a skunk. My old man in his tie and jacket stiffened. Right away, he sensed, I knew he was uptight about something. Now, as I remember, he always dressed for our trips, man. Tie, white shirt, suit jacket. The bums or strays were always coming up to him, asking for butts or spare change, saying something like, "Reverend, can you spare a quarter?" He almost always gave them something, as he did the Sisters of Mercy, who sit at the bottom of the escalators at Penn Station, taking collections for the poor. But this scene was just not his deal, especially with a young son in tow. Now, he had been an artist out in the Hamptons in the 50s. He knew what was going on here. He started to hustle me away, saying we better start heading back to Penn to catch our train. Remember, we were walking to Midtown. As we're leaving, the football guy, pushing the Jew in boots, higher and higher, called after us, "Hey kid, always swing with your dad."
Playing Picaso, R82. It's late. I'm sitting alone at the bar working on my third double jack, and I'm feeling really mellow. She leans across 2 seats, taps me on the shoulder, stares me dead in the face, and slurs out, "You look like Pablo Picasso." She's really pretty. I guess late 30s, early 40s maybe, sculpted cheekbones, and a great body packed in tight black leather. Her hair is long and straight and dyed black with bangs almost covering those haunted, crazy eyes. Exactly the woman I've always been a sucker for after 3 drinks. Pablo Picasso, yeah, I bet you get that all the time, huh? No, not really. She spots my fancy camera on the bar. "Hey, you're a photographer." I said, "Sometimes, mostly. I just tell stories." She flashes a grin. "Hey, me too." She drifts off into some rambling drug story with a couple of lame attempts at being funny. I say, "You know, everything you say seems to have a sardonic twist of some kind, like a comedian or something." She smiles suggestively. "Well, I am a comedian." "Really? What kind of comedy do you do?" She says, "Dada." "A Dada comedian, really? Yeah. Would she be that hip? I don't think so." She asks, "What kind of comedy do you do?" I repeat, "I'm not a comic, I tell stories." She says, "Well, I'm sure my story is a lot more interesting than yours," as she slowly moves her face and her lips up very close to an attack position. "Hey, I have a Speedo at home that's older than you." She dusts me off saying, "You couldn't come close to my stories. Have you ever done crack?" "No, I stopped at mescaline and coke. You obviously didn't." She again ignores my comments and asks, "Well, what comedians do you like?" "I don't know, Richard Pryor, Lenny Bruce, Sarah Silverman, Andy Kaufman." "Wow, you know, everybody thinks I am Sarah Silverman." "Really? Actually, I can see that. In a dark bar with enough drinks, you could pass for Sarah Silverman." "And Andy Kaufman is my role model." She rests her hand on my thigh. My Cialis instantly kicks in, telling my body I'm 40 years old again, while Jack Daniels is agreeing and he's whispered in my head, "Go for it, man, you can do this." She seems pretty intelligent, somewhat creative, attractive, very sexy, and really fucked up. Just my kind of girl here. Why did they still seek me out, these beautiful, intelligent crazies? Do they see the leftover crazy in these old eyes, past the wrinkles in the beat-up face? Shouldn't you be able to see in me that it doesn't work? I'm living proof. I have the scars of battles lost with crazy drugs and booze. More important, why do I feel this incredible emotional and sexual magnetism here? It's an old feeling. I sure miss it. It feels good. Is it just the Cialis and the Jack Daniels, purely a chemical reaction? I don't think so. I know better, but still. I want to throw her in the back of a '60 Triumph Bonneville, race off to some cheap motel and make hard bandit love to her. We're crazy. That's the kind of shit we do, ain't it? Feel bad tomorrow. We're both losers. Heading for a Bonnie and Clyde ending here. Pablo Picasso, Sarah Silverman. 2 fucked up souls, irreversibly driving into a head-on, dead-on collision. She leans in and she hugs me way too tight. I feel myself wanting a lot more, but you know, age sometimes actually produces little bits of wisdom occasionally. I grab my camera and I head for the door. I hear her yelling behind me, "Hey, Pablo, man, where you leaving?" I've been in the same sad movie way too many times. I'm not going to hang around for the bad ending this time.
Taken out in the American trash, 1471 First Avenue, New York City, Halloween 10/2010. Now, standing at the urinal, and it's the big Halloween celebration in the men's room in American trash, and the devil strolls in. Positioned himself next to me and unzipped, glanced over, and I said, "Hi, Satan. Long time no see. How's the old demon tonight?" He coolly regarded me in the mirror's reflection in front of us and corrected me and said, "That's Lucifer, you son." He asked what I was supposed to be. And I said, "I'm a beat writer," I replied. He smirked, finished pissing, vanished in a plume of fire and brimstone. I thought, what, no deal? So I retreat back in the bar room, humorless costumes, the night of the mass passed, with the dead captain saying love won't keep us together, with the ring-tossed dildo attached to his loins. It was a bargain. He's saying love won't keep us together, when this guy dressed as Bad Barbie in the box strolled in, still in the box, before it was popular, with a 5 o'clock shadow and an unlit white Al Tipperero, ordered a drink next to me at the bar. And of course, she had a proposition for me. Gender trouble.
Hey, Vince, you remember Johnny E?
Johnny, no surrender.
Didn't think so. You'd always find Johnny E in the last seat at the end of the bar for happy hour at the International over on First Avenue. Three Fingers Bushmill, neat. Always dressed to the nines, with a carefully arranged and shellacked comb-over, wearing that classic powder blue polyester sport coat he got 40 years ago back in '72 on his way home from Nam. "Hey, Johnny E, I haven't seen you for a while. Where you been?" Fucking ambulance took me to emergency room Bellevue instead of the VA hospital. 8 weeks I'm there with pneumonia, and then they tell me I got a fucking bad liver to boot. And the goddamn landlord rented out my apartment to a woman with a kid. He hasn't seen or heard from me. He thinks I'm dead. 35 years of my life he threw in a fucking dumpster. And then my car's missing. I go down to the tow pound, they auction off my car for $75. They said I owed $2,300 in tow charges, fines, and storage fees. Hey, I got $468 in my saving account. I'm running out of fucking options there, you know? Spent happy hour at the International for a few more weeks till the stash runs out. Just trying to stay warm, keep a little buzz going. Weather gets colder, panhandling ain't working for him either. I run into him again, he's sleeping on a heat vent by the Chase Bank on 2nd Avenue. I spot him at 20. "Hey, Johnny E, how's it going, man?" "Rejoice, rejoice, we got no choice, right? Maybe I need to try the VA again, huh? You know, I was a door gunner on a Huey back in Nam. Company A, 1st Battalion, 35th Infantry. I lit up a lot of VC with that big 50, man. No retreat, no surrender. Fucking A, brother, they owe us." I don't see Johnny anymore that winter on the street or at the International. Late one night, I'm over Black and White on 10th Street, shooting the shit with Harry the Hat. Out of nowhere, he says, "Hey, remember Johnny E? Frankie the cop tells me they found him dead over at the St. Mark's Hotel back in March. Yeah, he's face down at a Swanson TV dinner. Mac and cheese, I think. Still wearing that fucking polyester sport coat. You know what's sad? Frankie said nobody claimed his body. You believe that shit?" Hey, buddy, 3 Fingers Bushmill, me. Johnny E, no retreat, no surrender. Fucking head, brother.
And understanding. Now, my bartender, who is a perceptive man, told me a story the other night when the subject turned to redheads. one had just walked in the door and we expressed our mutual admiration wordlessly. But my bartender says, when I first came to town, it was after a breakup of an 8-year affair. I was a mess. I was soon able to get this job here. And then I'm starting to get my ass on straight, and one early evening, not too long after that, I'm working the opening shift, and in walks this very nice-looking redhead and orders a mixed drink with a cherry in it. So I fix it up for her and set it down. She does this fake pout and says, "Hey, this cherry doesn't have a stem on it." And I go, "You want a cherry with a stem on it?" And she says, "Yes," grinning at me. "And if you get it for me, I'll show you a magic trick." So I'm game. I fish one out of the bar, place it in the drink. She smiles, pulls it out by the stem, licks the cherry's ball indolently with the tip of her tongue, gently places it in her mouth, and her jaw kind of moves sideways, and her lips twitch. And I'll be damned, in about 10 seconds, she didn't open her mouth and stick out her tongue, and there, displayed proudly in the middle of the tongue, was the cherry with the stem firmly knotted. No shit, I said. What happened next? My bartender just looked at me, polishing the glasses with a rather deadpan, amused expression, and the eyebrows slightly arched. "Oh, I see," I remarked, taking a long pull off my beer. "You know, I think that's why me and my bartender get along so well. We have this understanding." Remember the old guy from the first poem? No, he's back. This is called Another Barfly, but it's the same barfly. Yeah, and he's still driving the damn vintage motorcycle, and he wants a chilled mixed drink, kind of like a milkshake with vodka. Bartender doesn't really want to be bothered. But he's the other bar pie, and he's telling that same story. He wants to be your pal, wants his vintage motorcycle to run great, but it needs a coat of paint. Another barfly wants something to crawl on. He wants to ride his vintage motorcycle down to the lake and look for all the lost years and scenes, but nobody's around anymore, however. Some got old. Some got dead. Some grew up. So another barfly finishes his malted booze malted and beats it, draws heat, draws comments, rubbernecks, cruising for a bruise. Good thing he left. But then some old legitimate veteran shows up, and it's his birthday, and he hasn't had a drink since New Year's, and he's freshly fallen off the wagon, and he remembers everything. Bartender makes him a birthday house special, hands him a lit sparkler, and puts on the Rolling Stones. And then the old vet starts bringing the bar back to life.
Are you dangerous? My friend Blair registers with this online dating site, fills out the form and posts a pic. Within a few minutes, she gets a text response from some guy who says he likes her nose. She doesn't respond. Moments later, he texts again asking, "Are you dangerous?" Again, she doesn't respond. A few minutes pass. He sends her a dick pic. Real romantic we got here, huh? In what universe is that supposed to be some kind of turn-on? He has no idea at all who the hell he's dealing with here. Let's take it back to the "are you dangerous" question for a minute. It's Sunday afternoon. She's sitting alone at the far end of the bar at Identity on 6th Street, chatting up my buddy Shane, the bartender. I come in, I take a seat at the opposite end. The joint's empty except for the two of us. I'm sitting there for like 5 minutes watching her bat her eyes at him. Shane seems oblivious to my presence. I clear my throat, I cough a couple times, and then I finally fake a very loud cough, extracting him from her talons. He strolls over and he mixes up my usual. We pick up exactly where we left off last Sunday. Usual barfly bullshit conversation. She's eavesdropping. Later tells me she knew immediately that A, I'm someone who wouldn't notice her or remember her, and B, I'm someone whose skin she definitely wants to get under. Part A, not true. I don't make a habit of starting conversation with strangers drinking alone in an empty bar on Sunday afternoon. Figured maybe they might be needing some space. But what the fuck? Let the games begin. She begins with Bukowski, do I like him? Becomes very apparent very quickly that whatever I reply will be immediately rebutted with a deliberately opposite opinion. Devil's advocate? Nah, I'm thinking more like happy hour ball buster here. So part B true, someone's getting under my skin. You pissed me off. Mission accomplished. I responded kind. Call it fate, destiny. I keep running into her at all my favorite joints. She's so me like a pit bull, the won't let go. She verbally challenges me on everything. What begins as a confrontational duel of wits slowly and imperceptibly grows into fascination, respect, and finally a challenging and enduring friendship, flavored with happy hour whiskey and lots of stimulating conversations. So, to the point, is she dangerous? I'm thinking of us watching as she inhales long and slow on that American Spirit menthol. The Rido hand taps softly on the bar. The dirge of broken hearts, false starts, and roads going nowhere. So, dangerous means tangling with some sexy, smart lady who can go shot for shot with you while fucking with your head and you're still liking her. And yeah, she's dangerous, very fucking dangerous. And I like her nose too.
It could happen to you. Back when I was teaching at the county jail, I went down to the booking room to get a fresh cell block assignments for the night's class, for the alpha list. And I pass the isolation box and I hear my name being chanted over and over. Now this is hard. His voice resounds from behind the plexiglass. None of the COs even looked up for their duties, except for the one matter-of-fact wisecrack from the desk sergeant who said, "Old flame of yours?" Evidently the COs had warehoused him in the box awaiting stabilization to the psychiatric ward. On my way passing the box, I give a quick glance towards the plexiglass. I know I'm asking for it. Why did I do that? And he leers out at me, full-blown Aqualung Rasputin, spitting, smudging the fucking plastic, going, "You fucking bastard," he screams. "I know you, you're nothing but a motherfucking yellow coward. In fact, you're a purple motherfucking coward. I've walked around in your life, I've seen you on the street, and man, when I get out of here, I'm gonna tell you." The tirade spewed forth, and I exited around the corner to the elevator. I could still hear him cursing at me, ranting my name, even after the door shut. So I rode the elevator to the classroom, and I thought, okay, now let's review. I'm on the radio 10 years ago on a Sunday afternoon playing jazz, and this guy calls me up full of claims he hung out with Chet Baker, and then sharing a woman and having them unreleased tapes of Chet Baker, and did I want to hear him? Of course I wanted to hear him. I interviewed him, did a show around the material, and really that had been it. And now, as I unlock the door in the classroom, I think some more, you know, I wonder what his old friend Chet would think about this, and if any of this guy's stories about his tapes were pirated from somewhere else in the first place. Gotta admit, it got to me. I asked the shift sergeant what the story was with Chet's pal. "Oh, him," Sarge goes. "He's been slipping down for a week. They get at a rubber room at a lakeshore. Hell, I don't know, we weren't trained for this." And he smiles and looks at me and says, "So what's up with you? That's your second old friend up here this month. You gotta expect this after all this time. You're just having a bumper crop of old-time used-to-bes. It happens from time to time. They're gonna turn up. Considering your past, which you keep pretty close to the vest, it's the law of averages. It could happen to you." Driving back down the hill after work, I'm still thinking about it. Maybe I'm a little embarrassed, a little pissed off. All that verbal abuse and madness blindsided a la carte, just today's special on the Little House menu. But there was more than a kernel of truth what that guy was yelling about that night. You put all our rolls together, there's barely enough for a decent sandwich, which I ordered pronto when I hit the bar with a cold one. And I'll be damned as the radio in the back of the bar played Chet Baker's long, thin, sad trumpet notes from the 1958 recording called "It Could Happen to You."
East Village Dive Bar, New Year's Eve. Late afternoon happy hour with the usual suspects and some young soldiers who stop by in uniform. Heavily tattooed beauties cruising hipsters with skinny suits, obviously not from around here. Military guys are buying drinks with this old mariner and his buddy. My friend and I get feeling pretty good. He walks me home at 7. Get to my apartment, he drops down on the floor in the kitchen and starts crying. Says his life is falling apart. I kneel and I hold him for a little bit. Hey, Happy New Year, buddy. He smiles, wipes his nose with his sleeve, gets his shit together, and he's off to Bronxville to visit a lady who still cares about him, in spite of everything he's done to her. We're the dive bar New Year's guys. We don't make the morning news. We're asleep before the ball drops, because there ain't no reason to stay awake or alive much longer. We're the ghosts of New Year's past, and we're dying real slow.
Molly in the coal yard for Molly Fitch. Crestfallen sidehack in an old cafe, never slept with a dream before he had to go away. There's a bell in the tower. Uncle Ray brought around. Don't worry about the army in the cold, cold ground. Tom Waits. Years ago, after it was official, I had outgrown my beloved dive. You'll hear more about that later. I was a homeless drunk until my future daughter-in-law took me down to the corner of 1st Avenue and 6th, saying, I got something for your birthday. And we walked into the coal yard. And there it was, dim, shadowy, huge, horse-shaped bar. And it was happy hour. And she brought around, which included Miller High Life and tall boy bowling alley bottles for $4. And I knew I was in my new dive bar. So I went out to the small enclosed courtyard to have a smoke, and there's this 20-foot image of a steam engine coming at you, painted on the brick walls by Billy the artist, who they said lived down on 7th Street across from Sorley's. So every time I was in town, of course, I made a beeline down to the Lower East Side after getting off the train to slug a few High Life. Quickly fell into the routine, grab a seat at the bar, still on one of the end horseshoe curve that I told Molly designed. Get out my notebook, politely order a cold one, sitting in front of the cold big glass window overlooking 1st Avenue, and you know what, man, I was in heaven. Gradually, over the next few months, established myself as a semi-regular and got to know the bartenders. Sebastian, Aaron, Jessica, Danielle, Claire, Ashley, Elaine, Joan, Lindsay, Aaron, Nick, Everett, and Tyler. And on one evening, after staying longer than I usually did, too many last ones, shoved off down the L to Brooklyn to see my son. I got about 2 blocks out and heard a voice calling after me, "Hey mister, you forgot your notebook." It was Aaron, breathlessly chasing my sorry, sodden ass to get it back to me. Man, I kind of knew I was in. I had been adopted. Then one night, I took notice of a distinct presence on the other side of the bar, intently sizing me up. And then another Miller was in place in front of me, and Aaron said, "That one's on the boss." And I looked up and tipped my cap at Molly, who grinned broadly at me, nodding in recognition. Once in the middle of the winter Sunday afternoon, the bar awash with sunlight. Molly sat down next to me, and we had a long conversation. It started for saying, "So you're the writer or something?" I smiled back and we laughed. And as I read her Nomo's poem by Tennessee Williams from Night of the Iguana, "Sometime when the night obscures the tree, the zenith of this life will be gone past forever, and then from thence a second history will commence. And of course, not well designed, for beings of a golden kind, whose native green must arch above this earth's obscene, corrupting love." She was delighted and explained, "I always knew you were a good poet." And I said, no, I didn't write that. And she would hear none of it and ordered us shots and celebrated. And that was Molly. She always believed the best about people. Of course, the ensuing years of the plague made me absent for a couple of years, and when I finally made it back there, I walked in and ordered up, and of course Claire was still there, and I asked how Molly was. She lowered her eyes very gently to me and said, "Sorry, Molly's dead. COVID got her." We stood in an awkward silence for a moment, and then Claire told me, "Wait a minute, I have something for you," from the service, and dug under the bar top and fished out a small purple mesh drawstring screen pouch that contained inside a guitar pick, a tiny pushback pin button from the International Bar, and a couple of purple mimosa seeds wrapped in plastic, and a bookmark with Molly's picture on the front, and these words written on the backside. I don't know about you, and I don't know if you knew who Molly was, but I hear her voice here. Afterglow. I'd like the memory of me to be a happy one. I'd like to leave an afterglow, with smiles when the day is done. I'd like to leave an echo, whispering softly down the ways of good times and laughing and bright sunny days. I'd like to take the tears of those who grieve to dry before the sun of happy memories that I leave behind before the day is done.
Put your hands together for Vincent and Phillip, two guys in a bar talking. That's the end of part one. We're going to take a short 10-minute break. We'll be right back.